welcome back to Classic and Retro, and welcome to another project. This one is going to be the biggest project we've done. A bit of an iconic car, being an 850 T-5R. Now, there are only 7,000 of these made worldwide, and this is one of 113 automatic green estates that made it to the UK. So it's really worth saving, and it's a very rare car. However, it has had a lot of damage, as you can see. Now, I've never done anything this damaged before. I've never repaired anything this bad. Obviously, it's done a lot. So in this video, we're going to be stripping down the front end of the car to just try and get some idea of the extent of the damage and make a list of parts, basically see what we've let ourselves in for. So I think we just need to crack on, get this wing off, get the bumper off, get the front panel off, and see where we're at. I think the trick with this one is going to be save as much things as we can. So this wiper arm, there's nothing wrong with it. So if we can get this off, we will do. It's just held on by one little 8mm underneath there. So if we can then get that off. This trim is definitely dead, but it'll provide part numbers. There you go, for the new ones. So basically that, it's a row of 10mm bolts for the wing, a couple hiding behind the doors, and then we've got some T25s across there and underneath the passenger side headlight, and then a few underneath the bumper that hold the front bumper skin on. This will then give us access to this bumper bar. Get the bumper bar off, get this front panel off, and then it'll start to look a lot better. I always think they look a bit better when you get everything bad off them. So let's do that. So we'll start with all the 10mm that hold the front panel on, get the windscreen washer out of the way, the windscreen washer pipe work, and then it's a matter of tracking down all the 10mm that hold this on. Now, some of them have been moved a little when the inner wing got crunched. Some of them are a little more difficult to get to than they should be, so some of them are at a funny angle. We're having to remove damaged parts of plastic to get in there. As you can see, there's bits of debris everywhere, so it's kind of like working your way around. Start working my way up the wing edge, get those out of the way. Realise the bonnet catch has got to come out, but it would have to come out anyway. That's just a couple of 12mm bolts, and the bonnet catch is quite easy to move. Once that's out of the way, we can then get to some more of the 10mm bolts that hold the wing on and hold the front panel on. Work his way up underneath the bonnet hinge and get all those out of the way. There's also a couple of 10mm bolts for the wings hiding in the door. You can just about see one of them just there, and one of them down the bottom just there. They both need to come out. Well, that wasn't ideal. That one's gone down into the sill, so we'll have to grab that one later. This top one's proving a bit of a pain to get to. But with an open-ended spanner, I think we've got it. These are really fiddly to get to in the door shut. It's like half a turn at a time. But once you've kind of got the spanner on it and got it moving, it's not so bad. And then the top one can come out. There's only two in the door shut, so once they're both out, the back of the wing is really, really free. Now, there's nothing actually in the sill holding this on. It's like tucks behind the front wing. There is a series of these horrible like plastic rivets that hold the arch liner and mud flap onto the wing, so they both need to come out. I think we're going to have to get it jacked up. So there's some plastic rivets holding the mud flap on, and I've got to get this arch liner out to be able to see what's behind everything. So I think we need to get it jacked up, possibly get this wheel off. So removing these is it's not easy, and they're not really reusable. They're like a metal rivet with a plastic cover over the top of them. So all I'm doing here is prying the plastic cover off the top of the rivet to expose the metal part underneath. Now, I'm sure there's an easier way. I could have got the band sander out, but I didn't want to jack the car up at this point. I didn't want to mess about with power tools when I could just tap the top of them off and remove them that way. So all I'm doing, as I say, is just tapping the top of them off and then getting a pair of cutters on them, and you can either snap the top of the rivet off or just get the cutters, they're only aluminium, and cut those off. I think there's 3 or 4 holding the mud flap on and 1 or 2 on the arch liner to the front wing. Once we've managed to get those off, there's not much on this back edge that's going to be holding the wing on. So I've managed to break those rivets off without jacking it up. I've left the ones on the sill for now, and that's the back of the wing completely free. I've disconnected the indicator. So now we just need to get the front free. Now, I think there's 1 bolt holding it on down there. I think that might be it. I'll be able to get this wing off. 1 bolt. There was 2, so there was 1 10mm that was kind of hidden by the damage, and also a 12mm that wasn't a captive that holds the corner of the bumper onto the wing. So neither of them were easy to get to, and again, both of them were ones that you can only do like a quarter turn at a time, if that, because of the way the wing was shaped and the way that the bumper shaped. Just need to get on them and do them a tiny bit at a time, and bit by bit they both come out. It's looking pretty good. There's 1 12mm bumper mount bolt to get out now. Now that 1 12mm bumper mount bolt took probably 15 or 20 minutes to get out. The ratchet kept slipping off it. I couldn't get a spanner into it. As I say, it's not a captive, so even when you did get it spinning, you couldn't get back to the other side of it. It was pretty frustrating on the front corner because nothing was the shape it needed to be. So getting the 10mm out that goes behind the headlight and that 12mm out was not fun at all. But we're getting there at this point. The wing's very close to being off, as you can see. I think that's the last one. There's 1 tiny 10mm hidden right at the front. Take that out. As soon as this strip, we'll get rid of it, get a part number off it, get rid. There's no point keeping it. Looked like it was getting ready anyway. That needed replacing soon. Common rust problem on 850s, front wings tend to go. So we'll do well to find one. Next we're going to look at this bumper and front panel, load of 10mm bolts. We're going to have to get the bumper skin off soon though, which will mean I've got to take this headlight out, this indicator, which is already pretty much out. So. Nothing wrong with that one. Again, this is another job that took longer than it should. So I wanted to take the headlight out so I could get to the bolts on the front panel. The problem was, the way the front panel's broken, it's actually moved, so 2 of the bolts on the headlight on the passenger side, you can't actually get to the back of them. So as you probably see later on, I actually had to leave the headlight in the front panel, take the front panel out with it, and then remove it. I did also think we'd get away without replacing that passenger headlight, but as the impact shoved the front over, it's cracked the back of the headlight, so we are going to have to buy a pair of headlights, unfortunately. But this is what you find, you know, there's always a little bit extra, there's always more jobs to do, and just take the part numbers, find out the parts I need, and replace them as we can. So we've had to jack the car up to get to this row of Torx bits underneath, and this goes all the way down. Get them off, and we should be able to get this bumper skin off. So now all the T25s are out from the top and from underneath. There's 2 12mm bolts either side that hold the bumper to the inner wing, and then it's just a series of plastic rivets that need cutting off that hold the inner arch liner to the bumper, and then the whole bumper should come off. So a pair of cutters, they're not reusable, the arch liners are broken anyway, so we'll cut those off and the bumper should come off. Should. Oh, there we go. So next up is this bumper bar, held on by these 14s. So we'll get that off, then we'll get this damaged front panel off and see what we're left with. So yeah, just 4 12mm holding bumper bar on. It was actually really good to see that the bumper beam itself has not actually moved side to side, so although it's had a sideways front impact, they've not actually moved. So the main chassis legs actually look exactly as they should. This was actually really quick and easy to take off, although I probably should have got someone to grab the other side as it dropped a fair bit, as you can see. But yeah, that came off really easily, and obviously being alloy doesn't need replacing. Right, now it's a matter of finding all the 10mm that hold this front panel on. It's like a plastic style front panel, you can see it's not really held on by much. So we'll get them off, get this off, and we're getting down to it. Getting this front panel off was not easy at all. So underneath the bumper beam, I think there's, from memory, 6 or 7 10mm. There's 1 on the top holding the bonnet cable, or one of the bonnet cables. There's then 3 behind each headlight. Obviously the passenger side ones were easy to get to, but the driver's side ones, most of it were crumpled up, folded over on itself, so you can't get to those. You've then got the windscreen wiper motors, which are bolted to the back of the front panel. You've got both horns, which are bolted to it, and the wiring is at such an angle where you can't get the wiring off properly, so that's not easy. A couple of them were quite stiff to get out, quite seized in there, so I didn't want to snap anything off. I do want to reuse, as I say, as much as possible. So taking my time with those, but there was a lot of 10mm, too many 10mm for a front panel. But just work his way around, find each one, keep checking to see if it's loosening off, make sure it's coming out. I think there was an impact sensor on one of them, so we made sure battery disconnected. We don't want any airbags going off or anything like that. And then it's a matter of threading all the washers back through. Now, once the front panel is actually loose, there's a lot of stuff on the back. The wiring loom runs across it and is clipped to it. The windscreen washer pipes, headlamp washer pipes all run behind it as well. So we want to make sure we get all those off. Again, make sure we save as much as possible on this car, take as many photos as we can. So a job that is probably 15-20 minutes takes 45, because you want to make sure that you do it right and remember where everything goes. But as you can see, we're getting there now. Front panel's nearly off. One thing I wanted to do was take the bonnet catch off, because although I think we can save the bonnet, this bonnet catch is dead. It also seems quite solid, which meant getting the bonnet up and down really difficult. So I want to get that off. Wow, it was a nice night. Yeah, the bonnet catch caused me some nightmares. Couldn't get the bonnet up for ages on this car. And I also got some stick from my wife at this point because she said I weren't labelling the bolts enough. So I take my time to put the 2 bolts back in the bonnet. So I think that's about as far as we can take it today, at least. If you look at this side, see that the inner wing line is pretty much straight all the way back. That's the good side, obviously. And if you have a look at this side, you can see that this inner wing is anything but straight. Now, it's difficult to see exactly how much it's moved, but it's a good couple of inches. So, if you imagine that as your straight edge, you can see that this inner wing has moved in a lot. So I need to have a bit of a think about what to do about that. Do we drill out the spot welds across the top, down the side of there, across the top, down this back edge, all down there to take this outer panel off? So yeah, basically drill out all the spot welds around there and take this outer panel off and replace that in its entirety, and then drill out all these spot welds up there and take this inner panel out and replace that. Or do we send it somewhere and let somebody else do it, and then when it comes back we just fit it back up? Let me know what you think in comments. We can either have a crack at it ourselves, or we can send it away and get it done. I think that's about it for this one. If you want to see more of this, click like, click subscribe, comment down below what you think I should do. Possibly stick to old classic cars instead of this. But yeah, let me know what you think of this new project, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.